Line for Authors. Today, I'm chatting with Judy Lannon, author of The Making of Genevieve. Welcome, Judy.
Thank you so much, Terry.
I am super excited to have you. I loved the book. Before we really start getting into it, though, why don't you give the listeners just like a very quick elevator pitch about what they're going to get when they open the pages of The Making of Genevieve?
Which I just happen to have right.
Yes, of course. Let's hope so.
The Making of Genevieve. It is a standalone woman's fiction. However, it could be a prequel to my first book, which was 9 Days. The Making of Genevieve is the story of Genevieve Austin. Starts when she's 16 years old, growing up on the shores of Newport, Rhode Island. She came from a very comfortable family, but she always wanted to be a step above that because she was surrounded by extreme wealth in Newport. So the story follows her from 16 up until her golden years. And without giving anything away, Genevieve faces a lot of hurdles through her, 70 years time span for the book. She plows through every single hurdle with, whether it's guts, determination, lies, short of murder. Genevieve gets it done because Genevieve wants what Genevieve wants, and that is to be recognized as a well-known interior designer. And you must realize that the era of this book, even though it spans all those years, it starts out late 30s, early 40s, and women didn't really have careers. And it was husband, children, and then maybe a career. But she wanted it career, maybe a husband, and maybe kids.
Right.
So she was unconventional, to say the least.
Exactly. I love how you mentioned that it was kind of a prequel to your first novel, 9 Days. What made you decide to do this book? You had 9 Days out, and 9 Days has Genevieve in it.
Mm-hmm.
And now we are going backward in time, right?
Yeah.
What possessed you to go back?
I do a lot of book clubs, in-person book clubs, and Zoom. And I was finding that many of the readers didn't like Genevieve. And I was like, well, that's okay, because that's how I, created this woman. But then after a while, I started feeling bad for her. I was like, wait a minute here. So I decided to give her a voice and let Genevieve, in her own words, explain why she is the way she is. The back of the jacket says, Genevieve Austin carries a 70-year-old secret. Does this secret shape or harm her? And so she explains her secret.
So I'm curious, when you wrote 9 Days and you have this character and you have her being who she is, which apparently is very unlikable for a lot of people, did you already know her backstory? Did you have that worked out in your head?
No, not at all.
Okay, so when you wrote this book, you had to kind of say, what would have taken this character that I created and made her this way?
Exactly. Yeah. And, unintentionally, I threw in a little, what are they called? Easter eggs or something like that?
Yeah.
A little curveball at the end of 9 Days. And very few people caught it. And that was very unintentional, but yet I guess subconsciously it was intentional, because her last words are what The Making of Genevieve is about, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I think that's really neat. I've been asked several times about different books, are you going to do a sequel? And I always think, no, I'm done with this story. I'm done, and I'm moving on. And yet you had a different feeling. You felt like Genevieve really needed more voice. Do you see any other books around this topic?
I
or have
don't.
you put it to rest now?
I think I've put it to rest. A number of readers have said we want more of this family.
Right.
And if that was the case, it would be Sarah from 9 Days, I guess. No, I'm done with this
You're
family for
done.
right now. I
Yeah.
am on a third book that has nothing to do with them, so we'll see.
Super, super. So let's talk about secrets just for a minute. We're not going to really get too much into it because I don't want to do any big spoilers. But Genevieve's secret shaped her entire life.
Yes.
Pretty much from, college, high school.
Yeah, 18-ish. Yeah.
Right until the very last day. What do you think of secrets like in real life? Do you see this kind of thing shaping people?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And especially in that era, you hear people say, I never knew my parents did, or that my grandparents did this or that, which is a secret, not,
Right.
They went out for ice cream every Friday.
Exactly.
They just, things were kept secret. And in Genevieve's case, she kept it entirely. Well, she shared it with one person. So
Right.
I think that secrets do shape everybody.
Yeah. And I'm curious, was Genevieve someone you knew? Like in your mind, you already knew a character like this? Or is she a conglomerate of people you know? Is she you? Like, is she completely made up? Where did she come from?
I took bits and pieces of what I know. For example, my mother was an interior designer.
Okay.
So I was able to take Genevieve's passion for that because it was something I knew about. I
Right.
didn't make her a brain surgeon because I wouldn't, it was easier, I guess,
Right.
To write what I know about. But she is a conglomeration of people,
Mhm.
and how I think certain people would react in certain situations.
Yeah. That's what I do too often. There's very rarely is a character of mine a specific person. It's usually this piece of this person and this piece of this person.
Yep.
And then you kind of put them together and you say, ooh, with this combination of characteristics, what's going to happen?
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you ever see yourself in any of your characters?
I saw myself a little bit in Sarah from 9 Days.
Mm-hmm.
I know we're talking about Genevieve.
That's quite all right.
I don't see myself anywhere in the Making of Genevieve. Nowhere.
Don't you?
No.
Isn't that interesting? I've noticed that all of my characters have at least a nod to me in them. There's something. Usually, I tell people it's what I used to be, what I am now, and sometimes what I wish I could be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
there's little pieces of, boy, if I could be that brave, if I could be that daring, wouldn't I love it if I could be a 17-year-old that hopped on a plane and went to another country? Like, right. I would have never done that at 17. So those kinds of things will pop in.
Uh-huh.
But in Making of Genevieve, you don't see yourself anywhere, huh?
I don't, because the focus is, it's just so shined on Genevieve. It's Genevieve. And then there are male characters which I didn't identify with. But like I said, in 9 Days, there were a lot of characters in that book. There's a whole family. Right. So I could pull from different things from me. Absolutely. And from my family. Little quirks here and there.
I know. I tell people all the time that if you're friends with an author, you need to be careful because you'll be in the next book.
Exactly.
Now, whether you're the whole character or you just see a little piece of yourself. My daughter read one of my books and she said, "Were you talking about Emma," which is her daughter? And it was like, yeah, a little bit. She is in there. You're right. So I think that happens a lot. Right. I saw where you live on the beach And in your, I think it was your Amazon bio, it said that the beach is my soul. Okay.
Yes.
First of all, you and I are beach soul buddies because that is so me. I tell everybody I find my inspiration on the beach.
Yes.
So I'm curious, how does the beach kind of play a part when you're writing a manuscript?
I would say because I am so familiar with its magic.
Yeah.
I would not be great at writing about somebody who lived in Alaska, although there is water there.
Yes. Different.
So somebody who lives in Colorado, I would not. Right. I would need to do a tremendous amount of research. Right. When I write about the beach, which this third book is on the beach, it just flows. It's just, and I can instill a character's personality or their mood at that moment on the beach. Are they upset? They go to the beach to get rejuvenated. Are they thrilled? They're at the beach having a great time. So it's a very natural transition for me.
Do you use the beach personally to kind of inspire you? Like, do you take long beach walks and those kinds of things? Or, I mean, I know for me, some of my best ideas come when I'm out walking on the beach. And all of a sudden I'll get this idea and I have an app on my phone and I'll just say it into the app real fast so that I don't lose it. Because often I get home and it was like, now what was that idea that I had?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm at the beach as much as possible. As much as possible. I live, I think, a little less than 2 miles from the beach, but I drive. But we drive out on the beach. We have a private, it's town owned for residents only beach, where with a sticker 4-wheel drive, we can drive out there.
Oh, how beautiful.
And, and I've done it with my daughter, with my granddaughter, and now my granddaughter's daughter. She was the third, fourth generation, that baby out there. It's just, yes. So if, to your question, yes, I do get inspired. And like you, I will stop. And it's really funny. One of my, when I got back home and turned the phone on to listen to what I said, all you could hear was the wind.
Yes, and I've had it before where what comes out doesn't sound. It's like, so I'm using a speech to text, and so I'll talk into it, and then what it tells me, I have to stop and think, what did I say to make it say that? And then now I remember, because the wind will have whipped through it, and then it makes my one time I spoke, and I looked. Thankfully, I looked right then, and I looked at what was coming up, and it was in Spanish. Well, I don't speak Spanish, and I think that because of the wind and everything else, it just assumed that noise they were hearing was another language.
Yeah, that speech to text is pretty mind-boggling. I'm doing it with my third book. It's written. It's completely written, and then I just drop it into the app, and then I listen to somebody read it back to me.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Wild.
Some of the new things. And I like that idea of having that book read back to you that way, because you hear things that you don't hear when you're reading it in your head in your own voice.
Yeah, and even when I would read it out loud, I'd be in my office with the door shut, like she said, I still, I wasn't catching it. Yep.
No, you miss things. And part of it is that you're hearing it in your head in your own voice. Yep. And you've kind of fixed the mistakes as you go without even knowing that you've done it. Yes. And so a talk to text that's reading it back to you, they're not kind that way. They do not fix the mistakes.
They do not. And I had heard somebody recommend, which I would not recommend it, is to read your book backwards.
I can't do that. I mean, I think that, yes, maybe you would find individualized mistakes in a sentence that way, but I don't feel like you're going to really find the what I consider the real mistakes in a book when you have holes or plot issues or other things like reading it backwards. Well, I also don't have the patience for that. No. So it would never happen for me.
Right.
I'm curious, are you a pantser or a plotter?
I think I'm a pantser. I do. I do. I just write. And while I was waiting to get on this with you, I have a piece of paper here where I had printed out a page from one of the first go-arounds for this upcoming book. Yes. And I actually wrote, "Can I use this?" And so I had taken it out. So maybe that is plotting, but I'm putting it back in. So that's plotting. But I think out of the gate, I just know. What about you?
I am a pantser. I am definitely a pantser. I usually don't even have a genre picked out necessarily. Like maybe a little, but sometimes I'm just writing. I have a story, and as I write the story, it becomes very apparent that I'm going to be putting it into this, but I don't sit down and say, well, today I'm going to write a cozy mystery and it's going to have, I don't do that. I tried writing one time with an outline and my characters refused to play.
Yeah.
I feel like they were just looking at me going, you let us know when you're done doing that.
Right.
And when you're actually ready to write the story, and then we'll participate. But until then, we're not doing any of those things on your list.
Agreed. and you hear, and I feel it's so true, is the characters take over.
Oh, they do.
It's like, wait a minute, Genevieve is going to do what?
Yeah. And you're like surprised, and you wonder, where did that come from?
How does she know to do that?
I tried to explain that to people who aren't writers, and they look at you like you're nuts because you're writing the book. What do you mean the character took over? And it's like, I can't explain it to you, but the character takes over. And then if you try to guide that character somewhere else, it's like trying to take a 2-year-old somewhere they don't want to go. They dig their heels in and they're just, not participating, refusing to have the conversation, and nothing comes out. And when you finally relinquish the control and let your character have it again, everything flows smoothly. I don't know what that is, but it's a crazy phenomenon.
I agreed. And for me, it comes to a screaming halt.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Everything falls flat.
Yeah, I've sat completely still on a book before because I didn't like where it was going. And I was trying to come up with a different way to handle a situation. And I'm not coming up with anything. I can't go beyond it. I don't even know where I'm going to go when I get past this scene. And for 6 weeks, I danced all around this thing. I finally wrote the scene. The rest of the book opened up. I knew where everything was going. It was exactly what was needed. And it's like, why did I fight it so hard?
Well, it's a lesson.
It is. It definitely is a lesson. So you have alluded to your new book several times. Can you tell us anything about it?
Yes.
Yeah, let's hear
about it. I'm trying to write the blurb, which, as you know,
I would rather, me too. I tell people all the time, I'd rather write 10 manuscripts than one blurb. So
it's horrible. I'm probably breaking out in hives. I believe the name of it will be Callahan's Cottage.
Okay.
I'm pretty set on that. And the reason for that is because there's a house overlooking the beach in my town that I love. It's kind of picture a big cottage from summer of 42, yes. God, it's beautiful. So the story is about 3 lifelong friends, 3 women. I struggled with their age, but they're in their late 30s. Okay. And they grew up together in Orleans, which is the town that I live in. And they grew up on the beach. On the beach.
Right.
And 2 of them have been friends since birth. And then in comes the third one about the age of 5. And it's a story of them reuniting in their 30s. They haven't seen each other for 5 years. They keep in touch, but I don't go into that too much. But anyways, so they reunite at Callahan's cottage, and they bring their memories, and their memories are shared but different, and lots of laughter, lots of love and teasing, and some arguments, and lots of alcohol. All my books have lots of alcohol. I guess it's you write what you know. No, they're just, and one is a photographer, one is a pastry chef, and one is an author.
Awesome.
And so they come together for a week at the cottage, and they, as I said, they bring their memories and love for each other, and they, even though bonded like crazy, they have secrets.
Yeah.
So there are secrets.
I think secrets, that's a good vehicle in a book, where one person or two people or all of them have something they're hiding from the others. And it keeps everything kind of hopping, because they're doing their best to hold on to that secret. And the world is conspiring against them. That secret's going to come out. It's just when. And then what kind of damage is it going to do when it finally explodes out there?
Do these secrets break their lifelong bond? So, and the reason it came about, which is kind of funny, is, and it's funny, I have this picture. You probably can't see it.
Yes, no, we can see it. Wonderful. Okay. Yeah.
I did the Nantucket Book Festival. I believe I've done it 2 years. So it was last summer. Okay. And I went with my friend, and another friend who was there for the week picked us up. And she laughed and said, "This is your next book." I was like, "What are you talking about?" And she said, "A photographer, an author, and a pastry chef come to Nantucket." She is a photographer, I'm the author, and my friend was a pastry chef. So we joked about that. And then
it started clicking.
And I'm like, well, why not make them? Yeah. So
I love that. I do that as well, where certain things will happen. I heard a song one time that made me think. I do what if a lot, and so it was a country song, and it was a young man. He's standing on the porch. If he could have 5 more minutes with his girlfriend. He's holding his grandfather's hand. If he could have 5 more minutes with his grandfather. And my thought was, what would I do if I had 5 minutes or a day or 30 days? And all of a sudden this idea like morphed. And the next thing you know, I'm writing away because I've had this idea. So it will come from a song, or it will come from someone will say a sentence, and I'll think, ooh, that would make a good book. What would that feel like if, So I love that it was something as serendipitous as getting together with your own friends.
Yeah. Music plays a big role in my writing. And like you, and it's funny, it's typically country western music that will, oh my God, I feel that person's angst there. And so, one of my characters can say one of those sentences, the lyric. And so, country music really.
And it's because country music is storytelling. It's a story to music. It's not, there's a lot of story. And usually country music there's like regret in there. Yeah. There's something there's some kind of pain or regret. There's an old country song that says, like the best country song has, trains and mamas and rain and,
Yeah, right. It's got to have a truck.
Yeah, the trucks and all of the things. So, I understand that. All right. So, hey, guys, if you want to keep this conversation going, head on over to Novels and Latte Book Club, where you're going to have an opportunity to win a free digital copy of Judy's book, The Making of Genevieve. So, Judy, someone wanted to get in touch with you, talk with you about your books, talk with you about things upcoming, get you to come for a book club. How do they reach out to you?
Honestly, with all that's going on with social media right now, I'm treading carefully in a couple of different spaces. I'm going to say email me is the easiest way.
Super.
Good old fashioned. And my email is Olive, Olive, is home, just like that sounds, at hotmail.com.
Super. I'll have that in the show notes for you, so you'll be able to reach out to Judy. I want to thank you so much for being with me today. This has been a wonderful interview, and everybody run out and buy the book. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, Terry, for taking the time and helping me get the word out. I really appreciate it.
Wonderful.
Thank you for listening to Online for Authors, where I, Terry M. Brown, author of character-driven fiction and host of the podcast, introduce readers to characters they'd love to invite to lunch. Tune in next Tuesday for another podcast episode.